Three, two, one, and we're live. All right, my name is Mavel Heimoli, and this is another episode of the VillageMade podcast. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors, C4 Designs, for keeping me fitted. C4 Designs is a clothing company that is on a mission to keep our beautiful Nisian cultures alive. Use the code VMP15 at checkout to get 15% off all purchases at c4dzynz.com. We have a special guest today from the village, Mr. Harris Mataafa.
How's it, everybody?
All right, brother. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Appreciate the time. So I guess let's just get into it.
Let's get into it. I don't know if I should have my professional voice or my pigeon voice. I don't know. It's gonna.
We just feel a little,
float, right?
As we go along, we'll get into it. I guess just to begin, can you tell the story of your full name, your family, and where they're from?
Yeah, my name is Harris Fonoivasa Lawina Mataafa. I was born in the village of Tuasivi in the island of Savaii in Samoa, and I was named after. Harris comes from Carl R. Harris, or Carl Harris, who was the mission president in Samoa at the time, or maybe just prior to 1985. So I'm named after him and another guy, another general authority of the LDS Church. His name was DeVere Harris, who had flown over on an assignment to speak at a conference in Samoa. And so the day he spoke was the day I was born, and so they figured it was a sign that I should be named Harris. And so I'm named after those two men. And then Lawina is actually my family name. It was given my middle name, but Lawina is my family name. Mataafa, that's the chiefly title name that my grandfather adopted. But really, the family name is Lawina, but Mataafa is the chiefly title that just stuck with us. And so that's why our genealogy records are all messed up. But because Samoans like to change their last names all the time. And
Gotcha.
so, yeah, we born in Samoa, but I was raised in Hawaii. We moved to Hawaii when I was just, 6 months old, or just a little under a year, and raised in Laie and Kahuku.
Gotcha. Do you know why you guys moved, or why you ended up moving to Hawaii from Samoa?
Yeah, so my parents, they were both teachers at the Viola College, which is the high school there in Savaii. And they decided they wanted to further their education, so they went to BYU Hawaii, which is located in Laie. And they were students there, and so we lived in the Temple View Apartments TVA. So for 5 years I was a TVA baby. Just grew up in TVA and causing a ruckus over there with all my friends and stuff. So yeah, they moved for college.
Gotcha. I guess you just kind of got into it. How was childhood like in TVA and Laie and growing up in Koku, the community?
Man, those were some. I feel like that was an idyllic childhood. We lived in apartments, so we were close with all my friends. At that time, I grew up with Amaron Butau. Is that his name?
Yep.
Last name? Yeah, Amaron. We were best friends, and there was another guy named Viliami, but I don't know where he went to. He no longer lives in Laie after kindergarten, but me and those guys, we hung out all the time. We were in the same building, and so like morning to night we were just playing, right? And it was just good times. Oftentimes our parents would never know where we were. We would always find ourselves swimming in the pools at the temple, and security would have to call our parents to come pick us up. But we always were off to mischief somewhere. And I think our parents were fine for the most part because they knew that we lived in a safe community. And so, yeah, growing up in TVA was awesome. I remember when there was a flood happening over there, that became a swimming pool for us. And so there was no panic. It was just fun times. Everybody was just helping each other, but those are just some really good times, man.
So a lot of those friends, are you still in contact with them? Are you still friends with them today?
Yeah, so Amaran is still in Hawaii. Those are like my very first childhood friends that I could remember back in the day, just because we lived and we were the only kids in our age at the time. But yeah, I mean, Amaran, he's still in Hawaii. He's into carving right now, and I don't know where VMP is. We had some other Asian friends, which was so cool because me being Samoan, my best friend being Tongan at that time, and then we hung out with a bunch of other Asian kids and some Hauli or Palangi or Caucasian kids.
Yeah.
Like it was a great time just to be because it was just diverse, right? Like it was just a diverse place, and so but outside of Amaron, during my childhood friends at that time, not really. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know where everybody went. I got some new friends.
That's cool. For like when you were growing up in Laie and also moving to Koku, um, yeah, what was that like? I guess moving from Laie to Koku. Did you continue going to Laie Elementary?
Yeah, so it was so after my parents had both graduated, we moved across PCC, Bathtub Beach,
Yeah.
and that's where, of course, Val lived too. So we were neighbors, and so at that time, I was kind of being not groomed by anybody else per se, but like being in the Samoan wards, I felt like the youth over there, at least, I would look up to the youth there, and they were all Laia boys and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm a Laia boy all of a sudden, And so I identified with those group where I wanted to be like those. I was just a wannabe. I had no older siblings, at least in Laia. So those were I just looked up to the youth who were always throwing up the Laia boys, and so all the Kahuku football stars, they were all Laia boys. I'm like, I want to be a Kahuku football star, so I'm gonna be a Laia boy, stuff like that. And then in fifth grade we moved to Kahuku, and I kind of went in with the same mentality where I was Laia boy this, Laia boy that, and being the only I wasn't the only Samoan. There was the Talafongas and Bobo and Lavi them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember them.
I remember.
They were the other Samoans, but they were also throwing up like your boys this,
Yeah.
and so just to identify, I kind of stuck to that whole mentality of just I'm a like boy, want to be at least. I didn't really identify with the Kuku because the majority was Tongan and
yeah.
Filipinos.
Yeah.
I had the Vendiolas on my right side, and then I had the Taufas on my left side, and Taufas was all girls, and so I didn't have any friends there. Yeah, so I just hung out with Bobo and Lavi before they moved up here to Utah,
Yeah.
to West Valley, Kearns area, and so I was just left alone, stuck to my guns of this, and I went to La'i Elementary, graduated a Gecko before I finally started making friends in the Kahuku neighborhood.
Yeah.
Once I went to middle school.
Dang, that's crazy. I guess because your parents moved to Hawaii for education, was education important to something that they taught you was important
Yeah, that
growing
was
up?
for my dad. It was everything. That was how he found his success in his sphere. That's he was a teacher in Apayola, and so he graduated, and then so he got his master's at UH.
That's cool.
And so that was his pride. One of the things that he was most proud of is he continued education beyond.
Did he work as a teacher in Hawaii?
No. Oh.
Or what did he do in Hawaii, I guess, with...
So he was a social therapist.
Oh, okay.
And so he worked for some Queen Li'u Okalani Children's Center in Punalu'u.
Yeah.
And then he worked for the state. And he was doing really well for himself. And so he was very proud and tried to push me to focus on education as the key. And I think a lot of our people at the time were focusing on education. This is your vehicle, right? Especially if sports isn't the thing that's gonna make you lots of money. Education will always be safe. It's a safe choice, and so that's what he pushed on me. Yeah, it was big.
That's cool. What other traditions, I guess, Samoan traditions, were taught in the home growing up? I guess besides education.
As far in my house, my dad, even though he's very highly regarded in the Samoan community with his titles and his knowledge on Samoan history, he didn't push the Samoan culture so hard on me. He really wanted me to survive in America. So he didn't push a lot, but I mean just the fa'aloalo respect and just making sure that you respect your elders when you walk between them and their object that they're looking at, whether it's a person or a TV. Gotta say too low, excuse yourself. But really, I try to think outside of just the little tidbits of language. They spoke to me in English, even though they both spoke fluently Samoan. They they focused on making sure that I could survive and excel or excel in American environment, even though their English wasn't perfect, but they did very well in their specific circles with the English that they did speak.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I guess being born and raised that way, I guess,
mhm.
with the American culture. For you now, is there a balance between, I guess, teaching your kids now the American culture versus the Samoan culture? Or is there a point where, you gotta, would you like to like teach them more Samoan or, teach them more American? I guess your wife is from New Zealand.
Yeah,
And so is there like also a culture that add, that third culture added, to teaching your kids?
yeah. I think sometimes I try to overcompensate for my lack of Samoanness. Um, can I get by in Samoan as far as understanding? Like I can understand when older people speak to me, but I need them to speak very slow because a lot of them have the tendency to just rap their Samoan. Um, but I think I try to overcompensate for my lack of being Samoan by signing them up for Samoan dance classes. Right? I sign them up for at a variety of Polynesian dance classes, and so right now I really want them to be familiar with their Samoan and their Maori roots. Um, and so, I think I try to keep it because I want them to know their ethnic cultures. I want them to be aware of it, but I still want them to be able to take what they know of their cultures and use that to propel them forward in whatever field they want to pursue. Like I know one of the biggest Polynesian things that we do is we're very quiet and we're humble, or
Yeah.
and whenever elders are speaking or people that are older than us are speaking, we tend to just shy away and just let them speak and talk. And to a lot of people in the corporate field, they're like, why aren't you contributing to this?
Right.
But I think the way that we use it in to our advantage is we get to listen to both perspectives and then we can formulate our own rather than just trying to just talk for the sake of talking, right? I think those kinds of things. I try to make sure that they're well versed in the culture that that I know. I don't know a whole lot, but what I do know, and apply it to make sure that they're successful in whatever field they decide to pursue. Because I think a lot of people are trying to focus on their culture,
Right.
and that's good. But what can your knowledge of your culture do in today's environment? Yeah, and I think it can do a lot of things, just like being able to listen and respect our elders. I think those skills go a long way. I don't know.
Yeah. How are you guys taking to learning like the dance? You said you get them in dance. They're liking it, or
Oh, they're loving it.
they kind of
Yeah,
shy away from it?
they're loving it, and I think they're very proud because I'm we wear our we have our house decorated with the typical fu'a or toto or the we have just pictures of my wife's family in front of a marae, right? So they're very aware of where their parents come from or the heritage, and they're we go to a Samoan church, a congregation, and so
That helps, huh?
yeah, that definitely helps, and they
Yeah.
identify with the other people who are also mixed race typically, because in Samoa, sorry, in Hawaii when I was there, everybody was just Samoan.
Right.
Over here in Utah, it's just a mix, and so in our ward, it's crazy because we have like a handful of Filipinos, a handful of Hawaiians, a handful of Tongans. We're just a mixed Polynesian ward, which is great, and so they get to identify with all these different cultures because other than in school, they're almost they're just a handful of minorities
Yeah.
in the Polynesian culture that represent their school.
I guess that's one thing. I guess for us growing up in Laie, in Koku, at that time we were the majority.
Yeah.
Whereas when we moved here to Utah, we become the minority,
Yeah.
and so it's a little easier finding our identity. I feel like at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
But for you, did your community or did your family help or hinder in any way in you finding your identity?
Um, and I think, well, that's a good question and a complicated question. I feel like my identity has kind of changed over the years. Previously my identity was I'm Samoan, and that was all there was to it, right? And even though I didn't speak the language fluently, like everything I did, I was a competitive fire knife dancer back in the day. I was always a participant in the Samoan activities.
We'll throw the clip in here. No, just
Nah,
kidding.
yeah, no,
Just
please.
kidding.
I was yeah, I mean, you know, then it was I'm Samoan, I'm a light year boy, even though I lived in Kahuku. I stuck to that, but you know, I was a Kahuku Red Raider. Those things, you know, you keep adding to your identity,
Right.
right? You're just a bowl or a cup, and you just keep adding to your identity, and they just make you who you are. And so for me, it was Samoan. I'm a child of God, a Latter-day Saint. I'm a Kahuku Red Raider, Laie Gecko, and you know, and then when I came up to BYU, I became like a diehard BYU Cougar fan. And so all those things, but you know, recently, you know, as a parent and as a husband, your identity just kind of evolves. It's still all of that, but you know, those kind of just sit in the background. You still identify as those, but now you have different purposes and different um, yeah goals or missions in life now.
Gotcha.
So, what was your question again?
Yeah, your identity.
My identity, yeah. And
Did your
it's
community
evolved.
or
Yeah,
school and how did all that help
those
shape
all
who you
contribute
are?
to it, yeah. And I mean, yeah.
And then in I guess certain situations growing up or maybe even now, do you ever feel at times maybe too Samoan in a certain situation or maybe not even Samoan, not Samoan enough?
It depends on who I'm hanging out with. And when I'm hanging out with Samoans, there's just that major insecurity that I'm not Samoan enough, especially when they're rapping in Samoan. Like, you know, they're rapping in Samoan, and I can take bits and pieces, but like you just nod your head and laugh when everybody else laughs.
Right.
You know, just that's the pretty much the secret. When everybody laughs, you just laugh, shake your head, or when everybody is shaking their head, you just follow the group. And so, but really, like I feel like I have just that major insecurity that I'm not Samoan enough. And so I think, you know, when we started, me and one of my best friends started YoSamo, like that was just a platform that we created to kind of identify, because I think I'm not the only one that deals with that, right? I think we all experience those things where we don't feel Samoan enough, and so we're still trying to navigate this whole being Samoan or Polynesian, and still identifying as an American or you know stuff like that. It's just kind of I don't know. It's just I never feel settled, I
Yeah.
guess, about being Samoan. But then when it comes to my kids, I'm like the authority of Samoa, right?
Right.
And then I've only been I mean, outside of being born there and going back once in 2001 for 2-week period. That was pretty much and then outside of the Polynesian Cultural Center where where I worked for a little bit. That was like my ultimate Samoan experience. You know, but I think the word that I do say the most is sole. Like sole is the biggest word of my vocabulary, and so yeah, that's a tough question to answer, man. It depends on the circle.
Right.
But I do have that insecurity of not being Samoan enough. But oh well.
Yeah. Which I think for me, I feel it's okay to feel like that.
Yeah.
Because this is a new generation. We're a new generation of Americans, being born and raised in the States, or also like for you being raised here.
Yeah.
But there's no handbook or there's no we're
Yeah.
still trying to navigate this,
Yeah.
trying to be a Tongan American for me, being American Samoan for you.
Uh-huh.
And then, trying to navigate our cultures, trying to navigate, the American culture as well.
Yeah.
And so for us, we're still trying to figure it out,
Yeah. Culture
And so,
is ever evolving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I read if your culture doesn't evolve, it dies. And so, I mentioned this before that even the dancing has evolved over the years, where people always assume that the Siva Afi was an ancient dance, but no, it started like in the 70s
Yeah.
with Freddie Letuli. Like everyone always assumes that that it was done anciently prior to wartime or in celebration of wartime. Sure, the Ailau was there, which is similar to the Kailau.
Yep.
But the Ailau was there, but fire wasn't put on until Freddie Lutuli wanted to one up the Indian guy who was blowing fire, and he literally just wrapped a towel around the knife, his ailau or his peluin, and then he asked the Indian guy with the flamethrower to light it, use his kerosene to light it on fire. That's how the Samoan siva afi started. Like, and so, or even like the siva afi.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, not the siva tau. Right? Everybody thought that was an ancient war dance, but that was really in response to the Maori haka that was performed
Exactly.
in the right. That wasn't
Other cultures took on the
yeah,
Maori
there's-
haka.
there's
Yeah,
no-
from that too.
even in maybe like bits of oral history, but it didn't specifically talk about this chant that we
The
did.
sipitao,
Yeah, the
yeah.
sipitao, the sibatao, the sibitao. Those were all in response to the Maori haka.
Exactly.
Right, the Maori haka, they performed those back in the day during the rugby tournaments, and Samoans and Tongans, classic one-uppers. They're like, I wanna. I see you. You're Maori haka. I'm gonna one up you and try to do, but if we're being honest, nothing one ups the Maori haka.
I
Right?
agree. I agree.
But I mean, the siva tau. Everyone always assumes that it's an ancient dance, but no, it was created. It's a modern dance that a lot of people are going to that we just in our current oral history we say this was an ancient dance we used to perform. Like, no, it was never performed back in the day. It wasn't until it was performed during a rugby match was when it became part of our culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you spoke on that, and also just the fire knife in itself too.
Yeah.
Because it started as one upper, and then now it's become a competition in like at PCC,
Yeah.
and then just even in the culture of fire knife, those guys from Orlando, from Florida,
Yeah.
they took it even a step further.
Yeah.
And then
Those
because-
guys, they're Samoan, but like they're not, outside of, I don't really know their history, but the, Oloa and the Tumalu family in Orlando, they elevated the game of
They
fire
did.
knife, and now they're their standard, even though they're not from Samoa, right? Orlando is their home.
Yeah.
Even now, Mikaele lives in Wailua, in Hawaii. That's his current home, but they originated from Orlando,
Yeah.
right? And so, it's crazy. Like now, even
Things
though it's
that
a
they're-
relatively modern dance, it is Samoan culture,
Right.
right? And it's crazy because now you see all these Samoans and Polynesians in the dance industry. Paris Goebel,
Exactly.
Sienna, what's her last name? Laulu?
Yeah.
Um,
The dancing.
yeah, like they're leading, and right. I mean, there's some of the biggest choreographers, and they all have those roots in Samoan or Polynesian dancing.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. For you, I guess, in also this, finding your identity,
Yeah.
did that also help you with what you got into today? With your family, with education, with your profession. Did any of that help? In shaping who you are today, and finding your purpose or your passions, and being an adult now.
I don't know. Did my culture? Well, so my pride for my culture is always one of the, or pride for my ethnic roots is always one of my whys. Right? I want to represent my culture. I want to represent my last name properly. Right? That's, I don't know if it necessarily, but the aspect of respect and pride, because Polynesians are very proud people. We're proud of who we are, our heritage. Those, I want to represent our people well, right? And so in that aspect, it's very much the driving force, one of the driving forces that try to make me successful in my field. And so outside of that, do I use my culture in my field? I use it as a point of uniqueness.
Yeah.
I mean, now there's a grip of us Polynesian real estate agents, some even brokers, right? I know awesome Samoan, Tongan, Maori real estate agents in Utah, and they're doing so well, right? And so I'm grateful for them because they help pave the way for me in my success. But I think we're just provide a unique unique aspect to real estate because we're, you know, at least for me, when I speak, I'm not a pushy sales
Right.
real estate guy. That's my shtick. My shtick is I'm very hands off. Like, here's the information. Do with it what you will, right? And if it's right now is not a good time to buy your house, let's wait. Let's wait it out. But I'm gonna make sure that you're educated. And so I think people like that approach. And like I mentioned before, you listen, right? You listen to your elders. And so that ability that I listen to what their needs are and addressing them, that has helped me in my career as well. But yeah, outside of that, being Polynesian has definitely helped me. And then there's the unique aspect because of course majority of the realtors are Caucasian, right? And so, um, but yeah, I try to hone in on the aspect of being unique and being different because everyone's super corporate, but
Yeah.
I always focus on being authentic, on being who I am. Okay, so with our platform on YoSamo, like we're extremely unprofessional and we're extremely goofy and we're extremely idiotic. But I try to make sure that because that's me in real life. I am that, right? I'm a character. But I try to make sure that I maintain my professionalism, but I'm still who I am, right? I'll still be goofy. If you look at my real estate videos, there's still that tinge of humor with information, right? This is my information, but I think that's what people are just looking for. They're just looking for people who are just authentic. You're not trying to fake the funk.
Mm.
You just want real people who you can trust. Trust is everything, right?
Yeah, I guess one of the many things that you're into now, you just mentioned YoSamo, then you mentioned real estate. How did you get into those I guess those things that you're doing?
So, um, so after I graduated from college, I was very much the mindset I'm going to climb this corporate ladder. And so I graduated from the Marriott School of Management, the business school at BYU. And so I was very proud of that. Like, similar to my
That
dad,
is
I'm
a
like, oh,
yeah.
dude, I, it took a lot of work to get into there. And then I finally graduated and I'm like, dude, I'm set. And so, I right out the get go, I landed a job at an internet marketing firm. My emphasis was marketing. And so, and the job that was my first time seeing a 3-figure check, right? To like, whoa, I think I've made it, right? And so like I was seeing all these, all this money coming in, and I really didn't know what to do with it. But um, I forgot the question was.
How'd you get into real estate?
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't even know if the answer that I started to give even answers your question. But anyway, I'm gonna tell it.
That's fine. Yeah, go for it.
And so, what do you call? Um, so yeah, that started out, and so I was very much on the mentality. I'm going to climb this corporate ladder. I'm going to do well, and I landed a great job that I loved. But then um, the company that I worked for got acquired by an East Coast company, and prior to that, it was very much I could wear shorts to work, I could play ping pong at work. I could go to the gym while I was at work type thing. It was very free. It was very much let your creative juices flow. But then the East Coast company came in and bought the company, and everything changed. They removed the ping pong table and they put in a conference table. And I'm like, they started saying, hey, from 9 to 10 o'clock, that's a specific hour you have to focus. I'm like, you cannot force creativity by
Right.
telling us the hour that we're going to work. And so I found myself getting very, very unhappy with the situation. And my wife was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and which is something that I always dreamed of. Like, I'm going to do well in my career. My wife was going to be a stay-at-home mom. But very quickly, once that the company bought out mine, I was just very unhappy, and I would bring my unhappiness home. And so we switched. And my wife was just like, I actually want to go back to work. Let's switch. You stay home with the kids. You try to figure out a business that you're gonna start, and I'll make sure that I provide for the family. And so I was like, dude, I'm down. Like stay at home dad. I get to work from home. Let's go. And so I started the first two businesses I started was a marketing business. I kind of brought some of my old clients on with me, and then a financial business. And those just quickly kind of just just fell over, and I couldn't maintain the momentum that I had with the previous company. And so I was sitting there with two L's, right? Just two, like, oh, bro, what am I gonna do? And at this time, and I was at the time I was proud to be a stay-at-home dad, but then I had those L's in my mind, like, this is not the plan, right? This is the goal was my wife was gonna go back to work for two years, while I grind it out with my kids at home, and one after the other, they just started failing. I'm like, okay, so what am I gonna do? But in the meantime, my wife was excelling in what she was doing, and I got within a few years, she started like essentially doubled her salary at the time, and I'm like, babe, if we switch, I can't I can't make as much money as you, right? So it's looking like you're gonna have to stay at home. Sorry, it's looking like I'm gonna have to stay at home. You keep working, but at the same time, I could tell my wife was kind of getting tired of what she was doing, and so it was starting to put a strain on her. And so with me, I realized, right, and in my mind, it was kind of taking a hurt on my pride, if I'm being honest. I was proud to be a stay-at-home dad. I get to spend time with my kids, my girls, but at the same time, I was dealing with all those demons. Like, shouldn't you be the supporter? And I think with every family has unique dynamics. They have unique setup, and for some people, but for me personally, it was like starting to take a beating on my manhood.
Yeah.
At least just
Right.
on my ego, right? And just because my wife was seeing some great success and I was sitting with two failed businesses. Yeah. Is this what I'm like? Is this what my life is resorting to? I'm the one that went to college. My wife didn't go to college. Like, I was just all those things, and it was kind of taking. If I'm being honest, it was taking a toll on our marriage because I was starting to inflict or impose my insecurities on my wife, and so it became very hard because of that, and so our marriage started taking a strain because of my ego, my pride. It was getting hurt. My wife was excelling in what she was doing, but when she come back to work, I'd be like, "You take over all this stuff. I do this, I do that," and so it was hurting our marriage, man. And so, one night, one of our favorite things to do was just watch HDTV, and I knew a friend of mine who was doing real estate at the time and was doing well, and I was like, what if I do this? What if I start real estate, right? And that's really where it started, just from watching Chip and Joanna Gaines
Yep.
and Christina and Tark on HGTV. I'm like, oh, I could do this. I think, and at the same time, or prior, a couple years later, I started YoSamo. I know YoSamo was really just the only thing that was getting me going as far as, because we were finding success in YoSamo. YoSamo started as, just
how
a
did that
project.
start?
Yeah, just started as a project, just I had a marketing background. Samson was one of we were both in the Young Men's presidency together.
Gotcha.
And, we were trying to find ways to reach out to our youth because, they were always on social media and stuff like that. And so we started to create videos to kind of appeal to them. And, it took off where we included them. And then, in our videos where we didn't start including them, me and Samson started kind of drifting away from our youth, and we were like, let's just see what these videos. Let's try to shoot these ideas. And so it was real fun because on camps, like, we would legitimately just leave our young men down by the lake. Just do what you guys want to do. Me and Samson would literally like hike up. I have this video. It's actually on YouTube. We hiked up the mountain and shot a video just of us coming down. It was the stupidest video ever. It was 10 minutes long. Stupid video. Don't ever watch it. But I mean, that's how it started, right? And then we decided, what if we could write commercials for other people, humorous commercials. And so we did. We started creating those, and we created YoSamo just to see if our humor was palatable, meaning if other people outside of our community, our immediate circle, found it funny. And so, yeah, that was a long answer to your question.
That's fine.
But it just came to the point where, like, some ideas started coming in our head. Let's act on it now, because I know Bob Marley, when I read his biography, he always had a notepad handy, and when an idea came into his mind, he wrote it down immediately because that idea was probably just going to pass on. So he needed to write it down, and so some of his greatest songs were written off just the idea that he wrote down in his notebook. And so we try to do that. As soon as an idea comes, act on it, right? Don't wait, because
Right.
then you're gonna start getting doubts. People are gonna start doubting you, and you're gonna believe in those doubts. All that kind of stuff is, and so yeah,
Man,
just
I
on a
guess,
hunch.
yeah. Thanks for being, I guess, vulnerable to the point where sharing that,
Oh, no
with
problem.
us. That, I guess, even though it took a hit to your pride,
Yeah,
but you still continued, and even though you took those two L's in business,
yeah,
those two businesses, you still,
yeah,
get shut down, but you keep getting back up, But
yeah. I think YoSamo, at least that it was a project, but it actually turned into a business venture. Yeah, I really kind of that was my only thing I was holding on to prior to real estate. But yeah, because I was seeing some success in that, and my sphere of influence started to grow because of it. I was like, baby, let's take on a bigger challenge. Real estate is it? I know there's 15,000 real estate agents in Utah. I think I can be. My wife was so supportive of me. You know, she doing well, but she was so supportive. And so everybody needs to have a very supportive wife, even if the idea seems kind of crazy. Like the value of having someone just supportive is huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. For your business with YoSamo,
Hmm.
how was that? Was it like trying to figure out all the YouTube stuff?
Yeah.
Was that something that you guys had to figure out on the go, or did somebody help you guys along with that?
No, we did sign up for a couple of webinars. We went to an actual um, luncheon. So we went to the luncheon with the two ones in Utah, Harmon Brothers. I don't know if you're familiar with them, and Chambers Media. So those are like the two biggest video producers as far as commercials go in Utah, and they're really big nationally. So that was one of our get goes. I mean, the first things we did was we attended those, just kind of learn, because we realized you need to learn from somebody, right? We signed up for webinars from some other YouTube guys. A lot of our ideas just came off of the information we got there, and so when it comes to starting a venture, you definitely have to have mentors or some place to learn from. Yeah, I don't think you can figure everything out yourself. Sure, we figured out the monetizing side on our side. So YoSamo, fortunately, we're blessed to monetize with YouTube and Facebook. Not a whole lot of money, but enough to keep our wives happy, right? As far as we'll take our wives and families out to eat. It'll pay for some of our trips that we'll we went to Mexico recently or last year for YoSamo shoot, and so that covered a lot of the expenses. Um, but no, you definitely need a mentor. A mentorship is so undervalued, but so necessary, right? You can't do everything on your own. You need help, and I think sometimes our Polynesian pride kind of gets in the way of that, where we're like, no, we're just so proud. We're proud people, but in some aspects, it's advantageous, but at the same sometimes it can hurt us. So we just gotta kind of let go of that mentality that nobody else is out here to help us. There's mentors out there that are more than willing to help us, and so yeah, we definitely needed help, and we sought it out, and we got it.
Gotcha. Did you get a mentor once you joined real estate,
Yeah,
being a real estate agent?
yeah, and so really, like how they say in prison, when you go into prison, you look for the biggest guy and you knock him out type thing. It was similar in real estate. It was like I look for some of the most successful agents, and I just made sure that I asked them all these kinds of questions. And fortunately, in my office, they're just so open. They're all about, because our office is full of people who have the abundant mindset. There's no limitations to success. You can find success, in whatever you do. There's Everybody can have success. There's enough out there for everybody. And so having that abundant mindset has definitely um, played its part in making sure that I find mentors in the real estate industry. And even I still listen to real estate podcasts. There's never enough that I can't learn, right? I mean, there's always stuff out there for me to learn, and then just putting my own flavor on it.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, I gotta make make myself unique.
That's what makes you
But yeah,
unique,
right.
right?
Sure, you take all the information, then you put your own spin on it. And so for me, I found this identity with YoSamo, and where it's I use humor, and then I appeal to also the Polynesian community, but half of my clients have been outside of that community, fortunately, because they see authenticity. They see that, like, I'm not trying to fake being Caucasian just because they're Caucasian, right?
Right.
They like the how honest and real I am with them, and I'm not afraid to be pure unprofessional, but still am a professional in what I do.
So with the success that you're finding,
Mm-hmm.
as you continue your journey in real estate, and also with YoSamo, is it important for you to give back, or for those who reach out to you, to kind of be like a mentor to them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know with YoSamo, yeah, a lot of people reach out to us, and a lot of them are super young kids too. And so, like, yeah, like, I mean, I know Samson, he's YoSamo, he's YoSamo.
Right.
I'm where's YoSamo, because everyone asks me where he is
Yeah.
when I when I show up. Like, oh, where's YoSamo? I'm a person too, guys. But anyway, um, Samson, yeah, he was asked by Dani Atuwaya to come kind of teach his class what it is like to be an influencer, and so um, he went to Temp View the other day, and he was able to teach. And so, we get asked to speak on in different events, and so we're all about passing it on to the information that we have to the next generation. I know Kobe Bryant, he was big on that too. He created
Right.
Granity Studios, and Granity was a made up word that he came up with, which is um, greater than infinity, which is greater than infinity, Granity is that word.
That's interesting.
And
Yeah.
his mentality is the way that you become greater than you are is by passing on the information. That's how your legacy lives on. And so he's known as a basketball legend, but his legacy has continued to become greater because of the motivation that he provides outside of the basketball sphere. Right? His legacy now expands beyond that, and so it's definitely one of our missions too. Whether people decide they want to do it in YouTube or Facebook or whatever career, like we're more than happy. And then I'm not saying that I've arrived yet in the
Right.
real estate, but I found some success in
Just
the
a little
streets. Yeah,
success you
yeah,
found. Yeah.
and yeah, I'm always open to having other real estate, especially in the Polynesian community. I love our Polynesian people. I think real estate is a great vehicle for people to pursue to find wealth, right? There's lots of vehicles out there. If football isn't it, for a lot of people it's football. I know growing up in Kahuku, everybody thought we were going to become
Yeah.
NFL football stars, right? Because
It
there were
was
so
easy.
many NFL
Right.
football stars or
Coming out of
collegiate
Koku.
athletes, right?
Yeah.
And like that just seemed like the vehicle. And but like there's other vehicles out there, real estate. For some people it's education. For some people, I mean, there's so many vehicles, stocks, um, whatever. But like I'm more than happy to teach people, the little bit I know about how to become a social media influencer, or whether it's real estate, right? There's so much information to pass on, and then you take that information, you put it into you, and then whatever outputs, you can figure it out from there.
Man, I'm glad you mentioned, all this legacy,
Yeah,
of passing it on to the information and passing it on to the kids. That's a lot of what this podcast is about,
yeah,
There's a lot of people that, the people that I bring on inspire me.
right,
And these people that I bring on also, for the younger generation coming up, they'd be like, oh, I can relate to this guy because
right,
he's Polynesian, he's Samoan, or he's,
yeah,
he looks like me, or he's someone that I can relate to.
yeah,
And so, just like you mentioned with the football, for us growing up, it was easy to want to be an NFL player because there
right,
was enough people around us.
hmm
And so this is just for us, the information for the younger generation that we're passing on is just,
right,
there's other people maybe who want to get into real estate or want to get into YouTube that,
hmm
oh, Harris is there, or
yeah.
where's YoSamo? No, just kidding.
What's
That's his
yourself?
name, is where's YoSamo, but because he's doing that, I can,
Yeah.
maybe have the courage to reach out, or, try to ask him
Yeah.
to,
We're more
provide
than
some
happy.
information and stuff. So,
A lot of but sometimes in our culture we're just afraid to ask questions, right?
right.
And I think a lot of that is because of our
Going
upbringing
back
where
to,
we
yeah,
ask too
to what
much
you said.
questions, right? You get a slap. But I think that's one thing that we need to change in our mentality is like, there's people out there that want to know, and there
And
are
are willing to
people that are
share.
willing to share,
Yeah.
right? And because the way that our culture is evolving, um, it's it's not so much, at least in our current generation, it's not so much authoritative anymore. Where whatever the authority says, that's it, right? But now, in the Western world in American society, it's okay to ask questions, and that's how we succeed. Is because we've asked questions and we get the answers to that. It'll probably lead us down a rabbit hole, but that's how you find the answers, right? And so that's probably the thing that we got to change the way we think.
Yeah. So my guest I had on the last podcast, Elone, he shared the story of his dad telling him that when the Savior or when Adam and Eve built the altar,
Yeah,
they didn't know why they were building the altar.
yeah,
And it was the same thing with his dad, to his kids. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you to do this. Don't ask me why you're building, why you're doing this,
right.
but just listen to
Just-
me. And so I guess these are some things that you're saying need to be changed in our
Yeah.
culture. But I guess, are there other things that you think as a culture, as Polynesians, that we need to change or that we need to unlearn?
Um, and I think there's a few.
I know you touched on one of them with that, yeah. And then are there other?
Because the world that my parents grew me for, right, is different from the world that I have to groom the world is changing at a rapid pace, and so I think we have to change our method of teaching our kids. Back then it was the belt, right, or whatever hanger,
Yep.
whatever was in reach, electric cord, all those stuff. That was because we came from a very authoritative culture, but our kids are growing up in a culture that doesn't exist anymore, in a world that doesn't exist anymore. So we need to take our approach, because Polynesians we preach love and respect. Those things have to stay, all right? But the beatings, I think sometimes they can get, in today's world, I think it did well back then. But today's world is so different. It doesn't work anymore. And so in an evolving world, our culture has to evolve as well. And so disciplining, I've seen some pretty bad beat ups, of my best friends. But I don't think those would fly. Not only legally, because it's illegal to do that now.
Right.
But I don't think it teaches them the lesson that that we think that they think it would teach them. Right? I think they need to know why. Like why because if we want our kids to evolve as the time changes, they need to know the reason why they're doing things. And so that's probably one is kind of easing back on the sasas and the disciplining. And I'm not here to try to parent, try to teach other parents how to be parents, but at least for my kids, they're all girls, and so sasas are just flicks, right?
Yeah.
As far as other things, I don't know. I think it's the mentality that our go-to vehicle is athletics.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned before, there's so many different avenues that we can explore. I mean, we now have a Samoan running for president. We have a Samoan astronaut. We have Polynesian choreographers that choreograph for Justin Bieber, J-Lo.
J-Lo, right. Halftime of the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
like that was big. That's big. We have all these Polynesians that they do well in the athletics because that comes easy to us. But there's so many different avenues. If you find yourself not being the most athletic Polynesian, there's so many different avenues out there. Whether it's social media influencers, I know one of my favorite one is Johnny Tuivasa-Sheck. He was a former rugby player, but he no longer plays rugby, but he continues to use his platform to provide comedic relief. I don't know. There's so many different people out there. Music, politicians out there, right? I mean, I think we have Taika Waititi,
Yeah.
who, oh man, and he's like one of my inspirations too. And so those are all creative. These are all creative industries, right? Whether in movies, you have The Rock, Jason Momoa, some of the leading men in Hollywood. They're all Polynesian, right? And so, and The Rock found his success because he dug into who he is, a half black, half Samoan man.
Right.
And so he didn't have to try to pretend to be other people. He was authentically him, and everybody else attracted to him. And so that's why for me in real estate, I take these certain principles, but I make sure that I'm authentically me. And likewise with social media influencers, you take certain principles like we did, where it's just we take certain video components, but we are authentically us. That is authentically who we are. And so, yeah, and likewise, you guys are doing a great job in your podcast because you're very nurturing, you're very caring, and you want to know, right? And you have that mission to pass on this information you really care about the future generation. That's part of your mission, and you just keep doing, you're doing well. So thank you,
Yeah.
Roosevelt, for being awesome at what you're doing. And so, yeah, I think we got to change that mentality that football is the way, rugby is the way. There's so many different ways out there. A lot of people are in social work because of the principles in our culture. We care, we love people, and we care. And so, yeah, man, there's just so many avenues out there. I know Gabe Reed, who's a former Chicago Bear, former BYU, Moana Haretuku, they're business partners right now, and they've found success and wealth in what they do and being serial entrepreneurs. But they're taking that and they're taking it back to Samoa. They're trying to create a call center in Samoa, right? Because right now, whenever you call people, you either hear a Filipino or an Indian accent, right? And that's great. That's great. But why can't? Who's to say that Polynesians can't get a piece of that pie, right? And so instead of hearing hello, what can I do for you? You're like, Sole, what's going on? What can you're gonna hear different. But yeah, it's great tools, great avenues out there. You can find success in anything, right? Just as long as you don't quit. I feel like a lot of people just quit. And so, I mean, Lala is another one, taking tattoo of Fred Frost, and they've taken the ancient art and made it universal now.
Right.
Like people not of our culture are wearing our tribal patterns. And then that's crazy if you think about it. Like Polynesians are everywhere and it's our time. Like,
even the word tattoo, comes from Tatatau, which is a Polynesian word. But
small islands,
people don't know that.
Major
contributions
to the world, not just
to our industries or
gosh.
specific. Yeah, man, I'm glad you brought that up. That we're just out here. I mean, I guess for Polynesians also, it's embedded in us. If you think about our ancestors, navigating the oceans.
Yeah.
Samoa, I don't know, 55 kilometers, wide, and then having to navigate that in the ocean, which is 2,000. I don't know how big it is,
Yeah.
But also not only, Polynesians, I mean, for them navigating the oceans, but they didn't have any compass. They didn't have, it was just all embedded in their minds, and it was just all intellectual to them, But for us, we got to give ourselves credit that we are more than our bodies, we are intellectually, from our ancestors, just them navigating the oceans.
Oh yeah.
We're out here navigating different avenues, or we're navigating opportunities. We're navigating this new world that we live in.
Yeah.
And if our ancestors were able to do that back when they were, navigating the oceans, we're able to navigate these opportunities as well.
And they were able to navigate with pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Given the kind of technology that they had. You think of, because I mean, when everybody thinks of explorers, Christopher Columbus comes to mind, and Christopher Columbus, at least the route that he was headed to, he was actually headed towards Northern America, right? But then it's kind of crazy if you think about how that kind of changed everything, because eventually he rerouted because he saw, after he said a prayer, he was like, help me figure out what I need to do, because he was a very Catholic man, right? And he prayed, and then all of a sudden birds kind of just flew over him. So he decided to follow the birds, which led him to South America, which is why South America speaks Spanish, because Christopher Columbus was a Spaniard, right? And so if you imagine like that whole, if he continued on the route that he was going, he would have landed in North America. Like we would North America would be speaking all the Native Americans or the Indians there would be speaking Spanish. But no, he was rerouted, and I think, and I'm not coming from a religious background, so I believe America has, its place in history as being the place of freedom, religion, and freedom. But if he hadn't been rerouted, and I'm going to say that by God, North America would have been a completely different place. We wouldn't be here, right? And so, that's just coming from my religious background, believing that America is a promised land. So. Anyway,
Which is why we're here, and which
right,
is why
right,
we have the opportunities we
right.
have.
Great opportunities, yeah. Otherwise, yeah, Southern America, great places are beautiful places, but they have different opportunities than we have,
Right.
right? A lot of people are trying to move up to where we
Right.
are because of the opportunities that America has available. So
Right.
go America.
I know you mentioned earlier about those two L's that you took in business.
hmm
So I guess nowadays with YoSamo and with real estate, when you're taking losses, is it easier now or is it still just as hard?
Oh,
Or how do
bro,
you handle taking L's?
bro, I embrace the L's. Like, man, I used to, because I think the mentality that I had, and I don't know if you've ever read the book Growth Mindset by Carol Dwight, I can't remember the last, but that's such a great book about the way, kind of highlighted the way I grew up. Um, but the book kind of talks about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, whereas people who have a fixed mindset believe that things happen because of the way things are, and that's you just accept that. Whereas somebody with a growth mindset, they say this happened. Now what do I do? Right? They change the way they think, and so whenever I take L's, like I embrace them. Like, oh, okay, what can I learn from here? And I'm a big fan of Kobe Bryant. Not a big fan. I mean, just the man who he was after basketball, right? And I've learned a lot of his mindset because he had a very much so a growth mindset, in that you take your L's and you have to what next? What are you gonna do? Are you just gonna quit because you took that L, or are you gonna keep moving forward? And so, um, so for when I took those two L's in those businesses, for a while I did sit in the growth fixed mindset. I'm like, I guess I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad forever, and which isn't a bad thing, but it was hurting me
Right.
personally. Some people will excel at being stay-at-home fathers, and for those people, I will say this: stay-at-home dad or stay-at-home parent, period, is the hardest job ever. Like that is, you're always on demand, and so, uh, but we're talking about the yeah. So I was sitting in the fixed mindset for a while until I associated with some people that were found success. In this case, it was Gabe Reed, who was that we met with him. I met with Samson, then I met with Keala, who is the VP for Vasa Gyms, right? And so he's the one that kind of goes out there and finds new franchises, people who are wanting to franchise or new gyms outside of Utah. And so he was the major force in that. And so once I found myself associated with these people, I found myself starting to think a little bit differently. And so association is everything, man.
Yeah.
Because I was just sitting with me and my three girls, and I was just like kind of pitting myself, like, oh, I'm such a loser right now. I've got a college degree, but what am I doing with it? Type thing. But once I changed the association and I hung out with these men, and they're awesome, spiritual, uh, successful men, I found my mindset starting to change, and they've gone through their failures. One of the failures, Gabe Reed, he talks about, and I don't know if you watched his "I'm a Mormon" video, but the first thing he says about himself, I dropped the touchdown pass in the Super Bowl,
Right.
right? That's his failure, but he's a successful man, right? And so there's so many different failures that I've experienced since then in both YoSamo and real estate. I know for YoSamo, there's so many dud videos that we post, but we're like, we don't care, right? For the sake of consistency, even if we don't like the video, we're just gonna post it anyway. And for some videos, like they've just taken off, even though we thought it was gonna be a dud. For YoSamo, for real estate, I prospect by knocking doors, and 95% of people will say no, but I'm like, next, right? And then, but I found some success regardless of all those no's. And so, embrace the no's, embrace the failures, and because you learn from those, and it really builds your character. And so, I think a lot of people, they start these business ventures and they get a bunch of failures or a bunch of no's, but they quit too early to figure out if they're going to find success, right? You just take those L's and find what's next. What do I do next? How do I tweak this type of a thing? And even though me and Samson have been in YoSamo for 3 years, we still find ourselves like with a bunch of like horrible videos, right? But our following still grows because we've been consistent. People know what to expect from us, and yeah, just people just show up for yourselves. A lot of people try to show up for other people, like but once you start showing up for yourself, that's when everything starts changing because you have your whys. You've already know why you're doing something, even if you don't see success immediately. you'll, if you know what your why is, and then nothing else matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I know you haven't given up.
Oh
But
yeah.
were there ever times where you came close to giving up?
Um, if I'm once I changed my association, so in this case, I hung out with, like I said, those gentlemen. Human Marketing Group is the name of the company we started, and YoSamo is under that umbrella. And then I started hanging out with the successful guys in my real estate office. Like between those associations, honestly, like I've seen how many times they failed, but they're still successful in their field. Um, no, I have that's never crossed my mind since. If I'm being honest, I know that if I'm getting a no, that I'm on the right path because I've been taught by these mentors, success is an uphill battle. Right? Once you feel like it's easy, then you're kind of just settling for mediocrity or for the status quo. It's always an uphill battle, and so um, no, I've never ever, at least I never currently never thought of quitting. But back in the day, yeah, I've I thought of quitting a lot of things. I can't really recall any specific time, but my current mindset has changed drastically from the guy that quit a lot of things. I started up a fire knife dance school a while back, and it actually did well, but I didn't enjoy doing it. But so I found a way to keep it going and finding other instructors to do it, uh, on my behalf. So I still have that platform. I have that fire knife dance studio, and I have instructors doing it. So I don't because my frustration was actually setting the time apart to teach. But now I found other people. So in that case, I picked it right back up again. I quit, but then I picked it up again, not having to put in so much time. So, but
Gotcha.
yeah.
Now that you're speaking on time, I know you're busy with, I guess you said that you have your fine art studio, your Samo, with church, whatever callings you
Right.
have in real estate. How do you manage your time? How do you manage stress? How do you manage all of those things that come because of your time being so short?
Um, a lot of this mentality comes from the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. I think there's two writers, but I think Gary Keller is one of them. The One Thing kind of just outlines that you have to be purpose driven. Like, what's your purpose? Why are you doing anything? And I think a lot of people, we just live by default. Like, I'm just gonna go to work so I can live today, right? Just get money for today. And so that book, The One Thing, it kind of just draws out that process. Like, think beyond. Like, what are you trying to get to? Because we always say there's a means to an end,
Yep.
but a lot of people don't know what the end is. Like, what's the end? What are you trying to get to, right? So the One Thing kind of just says, okay, this is your goal. Now break that down into years. Because a lot of people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 years. And so it just kind of breaks it down. Like, this is how you should be planning. Think about beyond this week. Think beyond your next paycheck. You got to think because you need to have an end. You need to know what your end is or how you want to live. And it just breaks it down by years, breaks it down by months, breaks it down by weeks. So for me, um, every morning and every night, I set aside 15 minutes to plan, and that's planning all the important stuff first. And so for me, it's I want to plan my so when I do my annual planning, I've already planned the days I got off before I plan anything. Like, I'm gonna set the whole month of December off. I'm not gonna prospect. I'm just gonna be with my family the whole time, and then specific events that might happen, and then you start filling it in with other stuff, like the habits that keep you going. So as far as the habits that I have going on, I write my affirmations, words of affirmations, which are simple stuff like, I am an ocean that money flows freely to. That sounds super corny, but that's if I keep repeating that to myself, the subconscious is gonna believe it, and it just happens, right? And so I don't know, is a lot of the reading I've been doing, and so I enjoy success very much. So those stuff, I am confident. I you keep repeating these things over and over, and I have 15 words of affirmation or phrases of affirmation that I write out every morning. And so you plan those out because you got to get those habits in. Because once you get those habits in, then everything else should come easily,
Right.
right? And then, so yeah, 15 minutes. in the evening, and then 15 minutes to review what I had planned and change anything if I need to. Um, and so, and then the key is sticking to your plan, because a lot of people will be like, I don't feel like going to the gym today, or I don't feel like knocking doors today, right? And that's where you lose the game. It's you lose the game in the trenches. It's not like you've arrived there and then like, okay, I've lost type thing. It's always in the daily habits that you've built, and so you're disciplined to your schedule, and so that's how. Because I don't do things on the fly. I can't. Like I, like yesterday when the earthquake happened, and my wife, we've gotten on the same plane. We're like, I've got a schedule. Sure, and unfortunately we've been prepared already. So my wife, her plan is to go CrossFit at 9:30 in the morning. The hurricane happened. Sorry, the earthquake happened at 7 o'clock. My wife still went to CrossFit because that was in the plan.
Right.
Right. And so for me, a lot of people, we just lose discipline, and discipline is such a underrated principle. But if you can stay disciplined to your plan, and you work the plan, you plan the work, you'll be all right. Just stick to the plan, whatever that plan is for you, because everybody's plan is different, right? And so I don't handle stress very well, so that's why I try to mitigate it as best I can by having a plan set forth. Man, these lights really allow me to see my saliva. Just gotta cuddle over here.
No worries. So, what does success mean to you? What does it look like for you at this point in your life?
Success, happy, successful, happy, productive family. Right, making sure my wife is happy, making sure my kids are taken care of, and that they're in a position to be what do you call it, contributing members of society, right? And then I think there's various degrees of success in that you look outside of your immediate circle, right? What kind of an impact do you have, right? And so again, and let me quote Kobe again, where his mission after he retired was, I want to pass on to the next generation. I want my career to be an inspiration to the next generation. And I think especially with his passing, you can very much see that outside of basketball, it's been very inspiring, because he created, like I said, granity, which is that whole idea that you can become greater than infinity. Right? Is that idea that even if you've passed, the things that you've done had a ripple effect into the next generation. Like people will continue to talk about Michael Jordan, even though he's retired for 20 years. People will continue to talk about Kobe Bryant, right? Because because of the ripple effect that he's created, he's left an impact. And so it's success to me is touching lives and the degree in which you touch lives. And so different people have different legacies. A lot of people's success will stay within their family, and for some people like Kobe, they'll expand outside of his family. And so I think that's one of my recent desires is to build a legacy outside of beyond just my posterity, and even if it's as simple as something, hey man, your video was funny, it really brightened up my day. And one of the highlights of being in YoSamo was having somebody say that they were on the verge of suicide. Wow. And watching YoSamo videos actually took them out of it. And so, like in that respect, even if nobody else found our videos funny, that is a success to me. Like we saved a life. Like you can't, doctors get to say that all the time, but I don't have a medical degree, but we helped to save a life, right? And so it's one of our biggest compliments when people say this made my day, and that's one of our greatest successes, or helping people find the home that they've always wanted to live in. And that's those, just because that plays like buying a home is most people's biggest investment,
right?
It's their biggest investment that they're gonna buy. And so the fact that they trust you with a $500,000 house, like okay, that puts a lot of pressure on me, but the fact that I'm blessed to be in that position to help other people, just to touch people or to play a role in their future, that's what success is, just being able to touch people.
That's cool. I think that's cool that you I guess that could be also the greatest thing about being a real estate agent or about being on a YoSamo, right? It's
Yeah.
just those successes that you find
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
keeps you driven, keeps you motivated, keeps you going.
Yeah.
I guess for you, what can the world learn from Polynesians, or what do you think we have to offer the world?
Love and respect. I think, yeah, love and respect. And when Polynesians love, we love hard. When we mourn hard. We're so emotionally invested in people. And so when that's why we get real petty real quick when, like, when we feel like we've been betrayed.
Right.
We get super petty. Um, but the world can really take notes from those principles of love and respect. Even uh, the La'i Boy song by Fiji, it talks about
Yep.
love and respect. Even though so the HPD classifies the La'i Boys as a gang, but at its core, the La'i Boys don't consider themselves gang members, right? Because when one of them passes away, or a significant member of the community passes away, they are there
Yep.
to be the aumanga, or the people that to make sure that they're there as support,
Yeah.
right? Where they'll monetarily provide. You get together, they'll provide monetary gifts to the family, and then they'll be there in the backgrounds supporting. And you can see this of a lot of the people back in the islands. But love and respect is huge, and as long as you take those into whatever field or profession, like, you will be all right. Just authenticity, love, and like yeah, stop faking the funk, bro. Just be you.
Yep.
I think so many people are just, they're always so caught up in trying to maintain an image, and I was that way, especially because I graduated from college. I thought I was like, ooh, I'm gonna be a successful corporate man, and I found L's in that way, right? And then, but kind of being I don't know, love and respect.
Gotcha. Well, I guess I got some questions just to end this and get to know you better. But let's get into it. What takes up too much of your time?
Social media.
What do you wish you knew more about?
Um, Man, right now, stock market. I because yeah, because of this whole COVID Corona thingy.
Right.
Right now is a good time to hop into to stocks. I just bought my first few stocks
Nice.
2 days ago, because I remember when cryptocurrency was the hot thing, bro. I invested $10,000 and I lost it all because I was thinking way too much. Um, I thought I was just kind of like trying to get all the information, and realizing that sometimes you just have to act, deal with the consequences. Sometimes, I mean, not always the case, but in this case, I sat on trying to. I read a book on cryptocurrency, and by the time I finished reading the book, it was at its peak, and that's when I decided to buy.
Right.
Right, and so, and as soon as it
As you
it
bought, then it
crashed,
went down.
I remember I was in New Zealand at the time, and I was I was reading. I was like, because I was kind of banking on, like, we spent such money to get to New Zealand and to have a nice 3-week vacation there, and so I was like, cryptocurrency is gonna save me if I if I spend a little extra than I had originally planned. But while I was in New Zealand, zoop, like, it went half. Like, oh shoot. And so yeah, stocks would have been, I wish I knew more than now, and the value of mentorship, being more willing to ask questions.
Yeah.
I think we were such fiapoco or fiapoto. We're just so shy to ask questions, but just ask questions. I wish I knew more how to ask the right questions.
Right.
Stocks, and just having the courage to just take action. Right? Just so,
Take
like,
that leap of faith,
I don't know
yeah.
anything about stocks. I just bought stocks just because I knew I had missed out on the ride, the cryptocurrency ride, because I thought way too long, or
Yeah.
took too long to read a book. Yeah, and there's so much knowledge in general. Just that you don't have to go to school to get knowledge.
What inspires you, or who inspires you?
Um, my kids, my wife. I mean, my wife, this last year, like we've since I mentioned that prior to starting real estate and starting YoSamo, like our marriage is in a tight spot.
Yeah.
And if we did take marriage counseling because we realized something's got to change in our marriage if we want this to be a successful thing. And so um, and that was another thing, is like seeking out for help, because a lot of people, we just sit through our marriages and we're just kind of like we're gonna save face and pretend like we're all lovey-dovey on Facebook, right? But then deep down inside, people are hurting, and so we realized we want to change that. We actually sought marriage counseling, um, and since then, like we've just been uphill on that. And so, not to say that we're a perfect couple right now. We still have our arguments, but she is my inspiration, because she, ever since then, and we've both found mentorship. Right? We've both clung on to people who uphold our ideals. My wife is just a rock, and like I mentioned yesterday, the earthquake happened, but she's like, no, I'm gonna stick to this. This is my goal. I want to be healthy for my kids, and and for me. And so she's, regardless of what's happening, she's a rock. And so she inspires me. And Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start with Why. My kids, our kids, are my why. That, like, why I want to find monetary success. With this a strong spiritual anchor. So they're why I do what I do. Right? I want them to have the best life, of as many opportunities available to them as possible. Um, but yeah, my wife is seriously an inspiration. Kobe is another one. The Rock is another one, and all these people. There's so many sources of inspiration, right? You look at scriptural figures, right? We're both in the Bible, and for me, the Book of Mormon. Um, yeah, there's so many places, but yeah, my wife is seriously an inspiration for me.
Man, I just thought of this now, but I know you mentioned like 4 or 5 books already, but what's your favorite book
Oh,
of all those you mentioned? I guess, or a new. Yeah.
bro, yeah, The Go Giver. Like, The Go Giver is such a good book, because the principles taught therein can be applied across any arena. Like, literally, like, you can apply it in business, you'll find success as long as you apply it. You can apply it in your spiritual life, school life, or just your social life in general. As long as you apply these things, um, yeah, the fact that it's a shorter book too, like 100 something pages,
Oh, nice.
and it's written in a novel. Like, it's a great book. It's one of my favorite books.
If you could spend a day with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
My mom, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she passed away Mother's Day of 2011,
Okay.
and yeah, there's not a day that passes that I don't think of her, or wonder, like, is what I'm doing right now making her proud? And so that question kind of like kind of steers me,
Yeah.
one way or the other. And so yeah, I'd love to have lunch with her.
What's special about the place you grew up?
Oh man, like, I've lived in a variety of places, but there's no place that I've felt like a sense of community. Like, the Ko'olau community consists, all the way from Ka'ava all the way down to Sunset, Wailua,
Yeah.
um, and I don't know. It's a community built off of culture, and again, love and respect. And there's different factions in between that. Though there might be turf wars and what have you, but when it comes down to our goal of or our pride in the part of the North Shore, which is the high school. Like, man, we can rally around and show support,
Sure.
man. Like, we'll throw up some college size crowds for a football game, right? And so it's amazing.
What have you only recently formed an opinion about?
The value of a degree.
Speak on that. I know
So
education was important growing up.
education was very important, and I will say this: education is very important
Right.
growing up. But the idea that a degree is the end all be all of success in a career, man, there's so many ways that you can get education. I mean, YouTube is a great way,
Yeah.
because the value that the cost of a degree is going up, but the value is going down.
Decreasing, yeah.
I mean, I graduated from a very reputable
Right.
uh,
Place or
university,
university, yeah.
and in that university, I had to get into the specific school, the Marriott School, which is I failed the first time, but I got in the second time. Um, but it's man, there's just so many avenues for success. You don't need a college degree. Sure, it opens doors. That's what all the parents are looking for, right? Open opportunities. But I mean, there's so many people who have my wife, for instance, again, my inspiration. She she doesn't have a college degree, but she's climbing the corporate ladder at a rapid pace for the simple facts of well, she's beautiful. I think that plays a part in it. She's beautiful, but man, she works hard. She works very hard. She and her sister, they both work for the same company. And her sister is actually, higher up, but her sister works very, very hard. And my wife followed suit, and so she rose the ranks as well. And so, I mean, there's so many, even in a corporate field, you don't. It's the value is really in networking.
Yeah.
You always hear
Who you
it's not,
know.
yeah, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Because from the who you know, you can find out what to know.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I'm finding that in this day and age that it is so true. You can get education anywhere. A degree is a paper on the wall, and it's valuable, but its value is quickly declining. And so I know we talked to, that the value of a degree, that was a very 20th century way of thinking, right? If you work hard, if you go to school, you get a degree, you work hard, you'll be successful. But if you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, you realize quickly that that's not necessarily the case, because his rich dad, which is his best friend's dad, he was a high school dropout, right? And it was through networking and association that he was able to build his wealth, whereas his dad, who was successful in his own right, didn't have the same accomplishments that his best friend's dad, his rich dad, did. And so, I don't know, there's books, man. People don't like to read books. There's so much value in them, like the way you think. And so I would definitely, there's books. There's so many ways to get education.
Yeah.
Stop banking on a college degree as the only way to get education, or kind of relying on that.
Right.
I would probably focus more so on networking.
I like that, man. So what's the luckiest thing that's happened to you?
I'm gonna sound like a recorded message, but my wife. Like, I think behind every
shout out to the wife.
Shout out to my wife. I think behind the saying is true. Behind every successful man is a powerful, strong woman.
Yep.
And so, when I was going through BYU, I had to take calculus 3 times, and so the third time, like when I took my test, I remember, because we lived in this 1-bedroom apartment right by campus, and I came in from that first day just being defeated. And I remember walking through the door. My wife was she was just cooking something, and I just walked in super dramatic. I threw my bag on the door on the floor, and I stomped to the room, and I just bawled. I just cried, because I was like, "Freak! I kind of failed again for the third time." My wife just came in, just calmly, she just lied by me and just said, "Baby, it's okay." And that was all I needed. Like, and so, eventually I got into the Marriott School, and then I graduated. And she's been my rock, even though those 2 business failures. She always has been encouraging to me. And so, and it's kind of cool right now just to see it come full circle, where I'm finding success in these different arenas.
Right.
And who's to say that I'll probably stumble upon a failure, but I already know my rock is there, my wife. And so she's definitely the luckiest thing that has happened to me, and she's been the biggest blessing.
What song we got to make you dance?
DJ Unk, Walk It Out.
What are you most looking forward to in the next 10 years?
Financial freedom. Just being able to be in a position that I could give back. Remember thinking while I was at BYU, I always thought, like, man, when I make it, I want to fix the lights at the Kuku football field, or or be able to contribute in that way. But yeah, just financial freedom and being in a position where I can actually help people. Like, you're seeing it right now. Like, there's people that are struggling right now,
Yeah.
and even though because everybody has has a desire to want to help people, but a lot of people aren't in a position to help people, or if they may, and this is very Polynesian mentality. I will go into debt to help people,
Right.
which is a very honorable thing, but you can't keep helping people. It's not a sustainable method to keep
Right.
helping people from pushing them up. You have to be above to pull
help
them up.
Right.
Yeah, and so, and there is that culture of kind of showing face, but I think, yeah, we first need to take care of ourselves before we can truly be of
Right.
help. I mean,
It's like taking 2 steps forward, but 5 steps
yeah,
back.
yeah, and we gotta
For
get,
every 2, you go back
yeah,
5.
we gotta change that mentality and focusing on ourselves first. Right, you gotta be a foundation to be
Right.
built upon. You can't just keep giving away the bricks of your foundation, because you're gonna collapse eventually. It's not sustainable.
Right.
And so for me, I know one of my boys, he keeps asking, because that like I said, I've been blessed to find success, the little success that I found in real estate. And every check I make, he's like, "Bro, when are you gonna take us out to lunch?" And I'm like, "Bro, I will take you."
There's
there
gonna
was
come
one
a
time where it was
point.
like, because we all flew to Hawaii one time in last October, and they all picked me up, and they're like, "So like, Harry, how you feeling?" Harry is what, like, people
Right.
really close to me call me, and he's like, "So how you feeling?" Because I just closed on a house, and so I had that pretty big check, and he was like, "Well, I'm feeling pretty good, bro. We're in Hawaii with all my boys." I was like, "Sully, you want to treat us? I know you just got your check." I was like, "Sully, you know what? I could probably treat you guys, but I'm gonna hold off for a little bit. It's just the kind of delaying gratification. I could pay for it,
Right.
but I'm like, if I keep doing this, it's chipping away at my foundation. Let me set up for a few years, 2 to 5 years. Let me set up, and then, bro, I can give away indefinitely because I've set that foundation. And so, fortunately, I have a group of boys that I've grown up with, that we've stayed tight, that are understanding of that. And so, but yeah,
And it's cool too because they're all, pretty successful in the things that they're doing as well,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Again, it's association. I
Yeah.
think, because all of us, we went on our missions. One of them went to the military. That was his mission. And so we and we're all, when we get together, we're all idiots.
You revert to
Yeah,
your
we revert back
childhood
to our
again.
childhood, our high school days.
Right.
That's what every mixing session is always like. They tell the same stories over and over again. They sing love songs to each other. But yeah, I feel like and the cool thing is the friends make everything. Your friends are the biggest factor in how you were raised up, and so I think all of our parents collectively, they knew that, so they got together to make sure that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's cool. Yeah, a lot of them serve in high callings.
Yeah.
A lot of them successful in their own rights, in their
I like
various
that's cool.
careers, and they're all different careers too, which is what I love. We're all different. We're all our own person, but when we get together, we just become the same idiot.
Um, when people come to you for help, what do they usually want help with or need help with?
Marketing.
Yeah.
Getting help for using our platform to promote their business, which we're fine with. Um, uh, and that's how we monetize too, right? We monetize, either we trade, and so we trade in, like with Sifa, we've done trades with him, um, and a bunch of other local businesses out here, and so, or they'll just reach out for marketing questions. My field was paid search, so Google AdWords and social media marketing, and so yeah, that, and real estate. Yeah, real estate needs, obviously.
Yeah.
What is the real estate market going to look like with the coronavirus? What is, everybody's waiting for it to crash.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I answer those questions all the time, and so.
What could you give a 40-minute presentation on with no preparation?
The value of consistency and never giving up. I can go on for days, and yeah, none of the ideas that I have are original. They're really just from books. I just regurgitate it in my own way.
through your own
Yeah,
experience.
because I think people get so excited by certain business ventures, which is great. Excitement is great, but the excitement can only last for so long
Right.
before you get into the grind and you realize this is hard work. Like podcast, I'm sure the podcast that you guys have.
Yeah.
This is hard work. The setup that you guys have, the editing, right, and all that stuff, trying to line up people, like that's hard work. Everybody just sees the finished product, but they don't
Right.
see
The work before
everything
it,
that goes
yeah.
behind. And I remember I took offense one time to a comment on one of the YoSamo videos, like you guys have way too much time on your hands, and I'm like, bruh, I wish you knew.
If you only knew.
Like if you only knew the kind of hard work we have to put into this. Like it's a 3-minute video. It took us a total of 8 hours, right? For 3 minutes, right? It took us a total of 8 hours of recording, coming up with the idea, editing it. Like, yeah, it's if you only knew. It's because people want success. They just don't want to do what it takes to be successful. Yeah, I'm like, oh, and once they realize that, okay, this is hard work, that's when a lot of them quit.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to be successful. Is hard, right? And I know I listened to some of Lala Ellsworth stuff. Like, oh, he didn't just. I mean, people have a tendency to have creativity or to,
Right.
but that takes practice, man.
Right.
That takes hours.
This reminds me of my. This is one of my favorite quotes. Everybody sees the shine, but nobody sees the grind. You know,
Exactly, bro.
everybody sees the grills, or everybody sees the
Yeah.
car, or whatever the end
Yeah.
product is or
Yeah.
success is for them. But nobody saw the those late nights, those
Yeah.
early mornings. Nobody's seen those phone calls that went bad.
Yeah.
But everybody sees the shine.
Yeah.
At the end, but
That's
they don't see
why.
the grind.
And whenever people like approach me with like, bro, let's do this. It's gonna be easy. That's the things I shy from.
Yep.
Like if you tell me
That's
this is
the
hard
red
work,
flag, automatic.
I'm like, if it's gonna happen quick and it's gonna be like, sure, because you can find some quick success, but it is very likely unsustainable, right? But like if you tell me this is gonna take a grind, it's gonna take a while, it's gonna take hard work to do, and you're probably not gonna like it. Like those things I like gravitate towards. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Like, right, what kind of grind? Like I can grind.
It's the grind.
I can work.
Let's do this.
So I mean, like, but anytime someone tries to pitch me a business based off of easy money, like, sure, it could be easy money, but for how long, right? I mean, there's so many opportunities out there. Whether it's network marketing, a lot of people do network marketing, and those could actually be very what's the word? It's successful.
Yeah.
Right. One of my business partners, he makes his money from doTERRA, right? And he does well in doTERRA. That's how he made his money to invest in other areas of life. Yeah. But he is on the grind. He's not like, let me hit up my friends and family. Like he's grinding. Like he talks to everybody, stuff like that. And so, yeah, anytime you just say, oh, this is easy work, that's what I'm saying. I'll say right away, nah.
No thanks.
No, thank you. Like nothing great comes from easiness, right? Everything that requires hard work, that's sustainable over time.
Which of your scars has a best story behind it?
I got two that I can visibly see right now. There's a small one over here. That's from LJ. We were playing Go Waters.
Okay.
LJ Fuimono, so known as
Monosina Art.
Shout out to him. Bro, yeah, dude, we got so many creative artists out there. Right?
Exactly.
You got Sifa, you got
art.
Bill,
Yep.
Lewis, Monosina Art, we got Lala, we got Fred Frost, man, all these people to the world. It's not just in our community. But anyway, me and LJ, we went to like elementary, we were playing Go Waters. And there was one time where I just did a step on him and I juked him out. And he was a husky boy back. I mean, he's husky right now, but he wasn't as muscular as he is now. Right? And so I juked him out, and he used to tag me, and he tagged me here, and that left that scar there.
End up scraping it.
And so yeah, because you're an adrenaline, I juked him out. But then when I looked at my hand, you could just see the white, before it starts to bleed. And then when he lifted up his hands, his skin was just hanging. And then the other time I was hanging out with LJ, when we was little kids in elementary.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, LJ's a dangerous guy. And so we were fishing, And by fishing, it was just bamboo with a, just a little stapler hook, a paper. What do you call those things? The paper. And we were fishing in that little under the bridge by Foodland and he told me to get inside him because he's bigger than me. I just listened to him, and so I just jumped off the little brick platform into the water, and immediately I stepped on a glass that just stuck onto the side and so it got stuck in there, and so there's a scar on my foot that reminds me that I just gotta limit the time I hang out with LJ, but
So,
so
he's not a good
yeah,
friend. No, just kidding.
LJ. That's why in elementary we kind of well he moved back to Samoa after a while.
Right, right.
That was the biggest reason. Um, but yeah, he moved back to Samoa, but now I want him to start putting other scars on me like some ink. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. My dad has the malufie,
Yeah.
and that's my biggest temptation. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm Samoan enough to have the. But for me, visually, like that's so appealing to me. Like I want black knees, but I'm like, I understand you have to understand, and I think that idea is kind of changing.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what I was gonna tell you. Like,
yeah,
with culture evolving,
yeah.
you don't have to be as, I
Yeah,
guess,
well versed.
yeah, well
Yeah,
versed.
and my dad, like I said, he has that, and his stance has kind of
Right.
changed on it too,
Yeah.
because he's very well versed historically in Samoan culture. And
I'm sure with
he's
all the
looked up.
titles that he's
Yeah,
got. Yeah.
but his stance has kind of changed right now. It's like this is how you perpetuate your culture now.
Yeah.
It's because language is everything, right? In the culture, like that's how your culture survives. But this is another way. Now it's becoming tattoos. Tattoos is how you preserve your culture. There's lots of meaning behind it, but
That reminds me of there's a UFC fighter,
yeah,
Tai Tuivasa,
yeah,
Bam Bam.
yeah,
So he when he walks out in UFC, he
yeah,
walks out with the what is the indigenous people from the Aboriginal
yeah,
flag, the
yeah.
Aboriginal flag, and somebody was asking him, of course, a Polynesian, maybe Samoan, asking him like, why don't you come out with the Samoan flag?
Hmm.
And his answer, I got it on me. It's
Yeah,
already on my
yeah,
skin. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that was his answer. He's like, it's already tatted on me, or like
yeah.
I carry my flag, the flag on my skin.
Right, right. Oh,
And he
that's
said that's
powerful.
why he carries the because he's Aboriginal Samoan.
Yeah, yeah,
But he's like, I don't need to be carrying the Samoan flag
yeah.
because it's already on
It's
me.
on me.
I
Yeah,
was like,
that's cool.
so that's just going off of what you're
Yeah,
saying. I thought that was something cool.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, uh, what what helps you live in the moment?
Um, putting my phone upstairs while I'm downstairs. Yeah, and just enjoying the time with my kids. And so, yeah, sure, having because I get business calls, but I think you just need to set limits. Like your clients need to understand that you have a family as well, and my clients have been awesome in that respect too. So fortunately, but yeah, just distancing yourself from your phone, like physically put it somewhere else, not just in your pocket or on mute or something like that. Just because we just always gravitate towards putting our hand in our pocket too,
Yep.
even though we have nothing else to look at. We already saw the same thing 10
It's just
minutes
like
ago on our feed.
it's just like the empty fridge. Yeah,
Yeah.
you keep coming back to opening the empty fridge like
Exactly.
5 minutes later.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with
Like,
your
nothing-
phone. You
nothing's
just like,
changed.
yeah.
Like all yesterday,
The
like
world didn't
yeah,
except for
yeah,
the
all yesterday,
yesterday.
like oh, earthquake? What? What earthquake? Like there's nothing new. Like why do we keep doing that? Yeah, and so
Nope.
you physically have to remove yourself from that,
Right.
and so that's and um yeah, it's a great way to connect.
Yeah.
Social media is a great way to connect, but sometimes we're just so disconnected from what's in front of us that we
Yeah, in the moment.
yeah.
I guess you kind of touched on this earlier, but the last question: if you could give back to your village or your community, what would you do?
I want to continue doing what all these pioneers or these trailblazers are doing, like kind of um, lead, our community, our village, to other avenues of wealth, generational wealth. There's so many tools. I want to be a resource that people can look to. Um, so I mean, yeah, I want to kind of be the billboard of people saying, "Look, sports isn't the only way."
Yep.
There's so many different avenues that you can find success, and don't quit. Just it's gonna just understand that there's the grind, because Polynesians know how to work hard. We all know how to work hard.
That's already embedded in us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, unfortunately, we think that by working hard, that just means physically working hard. Bro, it's a completely different tool. Like it's a like I can like I don't know. I'm not yate, but I whatever physically. I mean, for me right now, it's just knocking doors. I can knock doors all day, right? Or for people, like I can swing a hammer all day. I can just scoop horse poop into a wheelbarrow. Like that's easy work for us.
Is that a tongue joke?
No, sorry.
YoSamo?
I love horse, FYI. And I don't know, I haven't had a whole lot of horse, but my favorite horse that I've ever had was the Fili Moyatu family out of West Valley, man. They make the best horse that I've ever had. You guys make horse?
No. We just buy it as well, too, whenever they have sales.
Shout out to the Fili. It's been a while since they've had a horse sale, but
good to know.
It's I want to encourage them. Please, Fili Moyatu family, please make some more horse. Us people are wanting it and craving it. I forgot the question.
Giving back to your community.
Yeah, just because I don't find myself, super attractive, or physically in peak shape, or stuff like that. But like, I want to be like, if he can do it, anybody can do it, bro. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, some people will say like, "Yeah, you got a college degree," like, but I pretty much don't use my college degree. Like, whatever. Like, I am fully of the mindset that you are the creator of your own world. If you've read the book, As a Man Thinketh, like, you create your own world.
Right.
Sure, there's racism exists, right? And sometimes it is systemic. Like but like I should never use that as an excuse, because people have broken the system.
Those barriers.
Like, they've broken the barriers.
Yeah.
And now we have Polynesians everywhere, in space, on your screen, running for president, choreographing the Super Bowl. Like, man, there's no excuse, bro.
Yes.
Like, you gotta. I'd love to be the poster child for just like, you can look like him, you can and you can just do whatever you want. And so obviously, I haven't arrived by any means, but when you asked, what do I want to be in 10 years? I want to be that poster child. Like, you can become successful in whatever it is you want to do.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Dang. Well, thanks for tuning in again to another episode of the VillageMade podcast.
Oh, can I do a giveaway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Speak on that.
Yeah. So, because of the platform that me and Samson have built on YoSamo, we've partnered up with Grub Pass, which is Utah-based. Their company that they essentially just give you discounts. And so, if you can download this app, and it costs, you can get a discount code. It's usually $25 for a year pass, but it gives you discounts at a bunch of restaurants like Sweets, Yummies, Umamis, all the places that we love to go. Betos. Yeah, there's seriously, like, not just Polynesian restaurants. You can get passes to different like event centers, like the jumping place. I forgot. Like, all of these places you get discounts to. So it's $25, and each deal is at least 3 to 4. So if you use it, 5-6 times, you've already made your money back. But you can use it anytime within a year. And so, if whatever Maveo says to do in a post, he'll pick the winner. But Team YoSamo will pay for your Grub Pass for this upcoming year to get discounts at places all over Utah and in Vegas too. So Grub Pass is an upcoming company that's doing really well, and yeah. So share, like, whatever he says, and we'll give you a free Grub Pass for your family to use and save money on food that you're already buying anyway.
How long do you want the contest to go for? 24, 48, a week?
We'll
go off of you.
Whatever you say. Whatever. Okay. Yeah, because you'll pick the winner. Yeah. You'll set the things for the
guidelines for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks again. Shoot, that's second giveaway.
Yes, let's go. Grubpass.com. Check it out. And
where can people find your handles or on social media?
So
Throw it out there for people who can
so
find you.
I'm just by my name, Harris Mataafa. So Instagram is harris.mataafa. Twitter, I'm rarely on Twitter because I find myself fighting with people who hate BYU. That one is also Harris Mataafa.
What is YoSamo's?
YoSamo's official YoSamo on Instagram, and then the same thing on Facebook.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Mavil, for having me, man. This is awesome. Love what you guys do.
Thanks
Keep
for
it up.
coming on again. From my village to yours, this is Bulabinaka Beachside, I guess.